Hey everyone, welcome to the 5th season of Travel Tales, a podcast by Afar. I'm Aislyn, and yes, I host the show. Each week on the podcast, we hear stories of life-changing travel from poets, writers, entrepreneurs, authors, and so many more. And this season, we'll be sharing short Q&As inspired by each episode that you can only find here. This is Travel Tales. Billie, welcome to Travel Tales.
Thank you. It's great to be here. Does everyone really say that?
Yes, pretty much. It's pretty much the same thing. Like, I don't want you to say, like, I would wish I was somewhere else.
Someone might say, oh, I wish I was in Estonia, or I wish I was in Argentina, or wherever they were in the last episode.
That's true. Well, so your story is set in Estonia, which I think that you might just be the person who's responsible for sending me there, because you've talked about it a fair amount in the last year. And every time you share these stories, like, I want to go. It's amazing. So why would you say people should go to Estonia?
I'm laughing because, yeah, I've talked about it a lot. And I definitely feel like with the whole staff, people would be exhausted from hearing me talk about it. So thanks for letting me talk about it some more.
Yeah, anytime.
It surprised me. I was invited on a press trip, and I really didn't know much about it other than that the capital city, Tallinn, it's a cruise port on the Baltic Sea cruises. And I knew that it had this great historic downtown. It's UNESCO designated. There's like medieval castle and walls, and it's just gorgeous and looks like a fairy tale. So I knew that. I'd seen those pictures, but I didn't really know anything else about it, except I had read this article in BBC Travel, shout out to BBC Travel, years ago, that you could go hiking on a bog. And I was like, well, what is that? I have to do that. So that was like the extent of my knowledge of Estonia. And then I get there, and it just, like, it was so beautiful. And now that I'm saying that out loud, that sounds very trite, because what place is it? But like it definitely surprised me with the variety of landscapes. Like in the southern region, it's very green. There's lots of hills. There's a lot of lakes. It felt like a lake district, like that you would experience in Italy or Switzerland or something like that. Like it had that kind of feel. Yeah. It felt sort of southern Europe-ish in a way I wasn't expecting for a country that's so far north, right? Like it's right at the top of Europe and next to Russia, so it's chilly. Big sauna culture. But so I loved that about it. And then I just ended up having these amazing experiences that like don't usually happen. Like I just met cool people who were genuine and welcoming, and like the art scene was amazing. There was a lot of cultural things going on. There's a lot of ruins and history there. I don't know, I just loved it.
Well, and then in your story, I won't share too much of it, but you also talked about how the capital smelled like, am I getting this right? Is it cardamom or cardamom almond?
Yeah. So, we were touring around right in the old city, and it smelled so good. But then I realized there are these vendors that are selling almonds that have been kind of rolled in a cardamom mix, a spice mix, and you can get them in either a sweet mix or a spicy mix, although I will say the spicy is not that spicy, and they just sell them. And I guess it's a touristy thing where they sell these almonds, and the way like in New York City there's a street vendor selling the sugar coated or a hot dog, except this was much more charming. But as a result, like the whole area of the historic center of the city, it just like has this wonderful aroma. It was great.
You'll have a Pavlovian response every time you smell an almond. You'll think of Estonia and tell people about it. Well, in your travel tale, you travel to southern Estonia for what are known as open cafe days. So could you share what these are and how you discovered them?
Yeah, it was awesome. Like I said, I was on this press trip, and they take you around and do amazing things, and we did. We went bog hiking, but they didn't mention this open cafeteria thing. And the way I found out about it was I'm just on the last night, we're just me and my guide and this one other journalist, and we're having a drink in a bar in Tartu, which is the second largest city in the country. It's a university town. It's like a cobblestone town square center. It was really, really fun, charming kind of place to be. So we're just sitting in a bar and chatting about what we're going to do that weekend, because we're all I'm flying home like the next morning. It's like 9 o'clock at night. And my guide Hano is like, well, I'm gonna be around the country. Like, I'm gonna continue driving. I'm gonna take you guys to the airport, and then I'm gonna continue driving because I'm going to an open cafeteria day. And well, like, what is that?
Yeah.
So he says it's this thing that they do all over Estonia every summer, where people open their homes and make them into like informal restaurants, right? And so they will cook in their own homes, and then you can come and hang out in their house or in their gardens and eat the food that they make. And they charge a little bit, like it's not expensive, but they charge a little bit to kind of make back their money. And so you can just go and like eat with people. And the different town will do it like every weekend. So pretty much throughout the summer, you could go to one every weekend. And he's like, yeah, I've been looking on Facebook. He had found a couple that were really kind of off the beaten path, and a few that were more kind of well produced. Like some of them have like a map brochure and and a whole web page, but some of them are just like someone put a stake in the ground with a poster board sign, and there's an arrow through a field, and you're like, what? Should I really go down that field? Yes, you should really go down that field. And so that's what an open cafeteria day or open cafe. I heard them called open buffet days. Like there's a bunch of names for them because I guess of how it translates. But yeah, basically it's real people open their houses and you can eat with them, all day. So cool. And it was such a gorgeous day when we went that we like everything was outside, so it was very like festive feeling. But so yeah, as soon as Hano explains what this is, I'm like, absolutely, I'm staying. So we get back, I text Julia, our boss, and I text the woman who had set up our press trip from Visit Estonia. I'm like, could we change my flights? Like how can you help me by the morning? Seriously, so I think I was supposed to fly out. I think my flight was at 12 o'clock on Friday, like noon.
And this was like 9 p.m. The
night before.
Yeah, okay.
And so I think like by the time I woke up in the morning, right?
Yeah.
She called back. I was like, sure. We've got it sorted for you. And then we were off to the festival. Like, we just got in the car the next morning and drove and started eating. And it was everything like I imagined, right? Like, it was just so cool. And I met so many interesting people. And I ate a lot of cake, a lot of pastries. There was a lot of fish. I didn't eat the fish.
Oh, my God.
It was really good.
Yeah. I mean, the food, everything about it is so appealing. Like, your story is kind of a quintessential summer adventure, and the serendipity of it all, and the fact that you listened to that spidey sense and you ran with it, because clearly not everyone can. Like, people have to get home. So I was wondering if you have any tips for other travelers who stumble upon something like that and have to make a decision. Like, can I change my life? Can I alter my life back home to account for this cool thing that I've stumbled upon?
I will caveat this by saying that you and I, this is our job, so it's a little easier for us to rearrange things. But in the end, like it was like I think 2 days that I was going to miss, like a Friday and a Monday that was adding on, so it wasn't that much. But like, you're going to regret it if you don't do it. Like, you won't regret doing it and maybe like having extra work to catch up on. And it's usually pretty easy to change a flight, especially these days. You can just go online or whatever and do it, and there may not be that much of a fare difference. I realize that is a real thing for people, and they have real lives. But like, if something comes up, yes, to the best of your ability, try to do it, because that's what we travel for. And sometimes those moments and those interactions, they don't happen on your schedule. So if you can somehow shift the schedule. And then the other thing I would say is just like, be open to it, which sounds so cliche, but it's so true. I talk about this in my story. Like, I talk to everyone. Like, I ask a million questions. Like when Hano said that, I wasn't letting it go. I would have been like, oh, that sounds nice. It's like, no, what is that? And then I'm like, making notes in my phone. Okay, so where does it happen? Where can I Google about this? I think just like, talk to people. Ask questions. If something catches your interest, ask another question. Especially like on a tourist track. If you're on a tourist track, those things may not present themselves. I mean, they may. I'm not going to say that wonderful things don't happen when you're in the main tourist section of a place. They certainly can, and they have. But sometimes it is serendipity, and when that happens, it's it's really
right,
just wonderful to recognize it. Like, we were driving around, so we saw a lot. And at one point, we were in the southern region in this area that I'm going to mispronounce, Otapa.
Sorry, Estonia.
In the winter, it's a winter sports kind of region, and there's a giant ski jump there that like Olympic and professional skiers train on or something.
Yeah.
So Hannah was like, I'm gonna take you to that. Okay. And there's an elevator and you can go up, and like there's nobody there. Right? It was August. It was beautiful. So we take the elevator all the way up, and you can see, for miles, and it's gorgeous.
Wow.
And then we come down, and there's this, I'm going to call it a hotel. But in the Soviet era of Estonia, it was built as a sports training center for athletes. It's a round hotel that's built like into a grass mound. So it kind of looks like an earthwork. So
like a hobbit house.
Yes, kind of like a hobbit.
Hotel.
But imagine sort of with like very sort of blocky
like Soviet
architecture.
Yeah.
It's round, but it's organic. And that was like so cool to see. Like, so we drove by that. And then in that parking lot, so this is an example of like, just go with it. We're pulling out of the parking lot of this Soviet hotel, and I'm already like so high from we were just on a ski jump, and now I'm seeing this super cool like earthwork Soviet sports center that people like now use as a hotel, right?
Wow.
We're pulling out of the parking lot, and we see a guy dressed in a Santa Claus costume. And
again, this is August.
And Hano, like I should say, and I talk about it in my story, that I feel like Estonians and New Yorkers are kind of alike. Like, we're just kind of playing it cool and doing your own thing. And if someone's being weird, you're not really going to pay them any attention. So he wasn't really floored by it. But me, I was like, why is that guy in a Santa Claus costume in the middle of an empty parking lot? So I made Hano drive over. And we rolled down the window, and I asked the guy. And so that's like what I'm saying. Like, if you see a serendipitous thing, ask the question.
Yeah. Yes.
So I asked the guy, what are you doing here in a Santa Claus costume? And it turns out he and a friend who's in another costume, they're waiting for a wedding party. And the whole wedding and the newlyweds are going to arrive in the parking lot in about 10 minutes. And then they're going to go through these sort of hazing rituals. They're going to like make the couple do these funny things.
Okay.
It's after the church and before the party, and they stop in this parking lot and do this, and it's some tradition. So, again, I ask, would you mind if we stayed?
Oh, cool. And did you stay? Did you get to see this?
Yeah, and we stayed. And the Santa Claus guy was so lovely, like totally, like absolutely, you can take pictures, stay, talk to anyone you want. And then so the bride and groom show up, and they put a blindfold on her, and she has to put together, I think it's like a handheld like meat grinder or some sort of small appliance that she has to do blindfolded. And then they have to put together a piece of IKEA furniture without talking. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good one. That is a good test.
I was laughing. It's like such a universal test of a good relationship.
I know, but like also, what happens if it goes badly? Anyway, I'm sure there's stories about that. Well, immediate divorce.
Long. I know, right? They don't even make it to the party.
But what was the Santa? How was that involved in it all?
They dress up. So the kind of the two guys who are sort of the MCs of the roast. It's sort of like a roast. They dress up, and so he had chosen Santa Claus as his ghost.
That is amazing. And this is like an Estonian wedding tradition, like that people do?
It's some people's tradition. I will not say it's a blanket thing. I did not do enough research to be able to say that. And then, I talked to a couple of people, but they were busy with their, celebrating with their friends. So they didn't so much want to talk to me. But yes, but from what I gathered, it's a tradition, and it is just sometimes if you just put aside any feeling of shyness and you just go with the moment, you will stop for a guy who's dressed like a Santa Claus and be part of a wedding roasting.
And who knows where your next story could come from. I mean, as a journalist, but also as a traveler, because now you have this great story that you can break out. And I don't know, maybe try that at your own wedding.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a reminder too of what's the worst that could happen, right? Like you could try to talk to the Santa Claus guy and he could shut you down and then you guys continue on, right? Like nothing terrible is going to happen. So take the risk, do the yes and.
Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't like there was nothing unsafe about it. You know, we're in the middle of a public parking lot, you know, with my guide. But the way you describe it reminds me, as you can tell, I'm not shy, but sometimes like you just kind of have to, I call it going into reporter mode, you know, and you don't have to be a reporter to do it, right? But you just want to give yourself permission to be the one who's going to ask questions or to be curious. Mm-hmm. And so that, you know, it works just as well on dates. You know, if you realize after 5 minutes you're in a bad date, just go into reporter mode because there's a story there that you're going to want to tell your friends later.
Exactly.
You have to record everything. It's kind of the same thing. And so it's just, I love it. And curiosity is kind of contagious. So like if you're genuine and you're genuinely asking about someone else, you know, people like to talk about themselves. So if you're genuinely curious, that warmth is going to come through and you're going to have some cool conversations.
I love it. So, are there any other moments or scenes or people that you could not include in your travel tale that have stuck with you all these months later? Yeah. Aside from that one.
I know, that was a good one. One of the, we stopped at a lot of places on our route through the open cafeteria day, and I didn't get to include all of them. And one of the last ones we stopped in was this couple. This couple was doing one, and they had opened like their garage. So it looked like a house with their garage doors open, like a very suburban American kind of thing. And the backyard, so it was sort of paved with a driveway and then had some grass. And so they had opened it, and there were fairy lights everywhere. It was like very magical, and the sun was setting. Aww. And they had named their cafe for the day. You know, some people name them, sort of fun, and they named it Tapas and Fudge. Tapas and Fudge. That's so cool. You know, and I walk in and I see a sign in Estonian, so I ask Kano what it means, and that's how he translates it. Okay, and it's because all the dishes are, you know, small dishes. So I'm chatting with the couple, and I ask them, you know, why tapas and fudge. Turns out the buildings right around their neighborhood used to be a dairy factory or something. So even though that's long gone, like in honor of that, they made fudge to go for the day. And I just thought, right? I thought it was so sweet. Like, and they were like really cool and young, and it felt like a backyard bar in like Brooklyn. But they were paying this homage to what had come before them in their town.
I love it. So you ate a lot of amazing things.
I ate a lot of amazing things. I met a lot of cool people. I met this group of artists at one of the places. They were having a sort of mini exhibition, and they were like kind of hippies, like older hippies, and they were so excited to show me all their paintings. You know, it's like that wouldn't have happened. Like, I went to galleries, you know, as I was, because I enjoy that. And like I went on this very cool street art tour in Tartu, which was phenomenal, and I recommend that to anyone. But like, because I was on the onion route of this open cafeteria day, there was just like these other things going on as part of the festival that I wouldn't have been exposed to otherwise. And they happen every summer. Like, you definitely should go. Yeah.
And throughout the whole summer, you said, like, because the towns take turns, and okay.
So the one that I talk about in my story, the onion route, is well publicized. If you go to Visit Estonia to the website, the Visit Estonia website, you can find out about it. Some of them are pretty small, you know, and very neighborhoody, so they can be harder to find. I kind of worry that they won't always be like that. Like, I don't want to ruin them. Like, maybe we shouldn't tell people about them.
I know. But let's just scrap the story altogether.
But it blew my mind that like this was not part of the press trip, which is to, you know, showcase the country. This is the coolest thing. You should be telling everybody about this.
Right? Like that's exactly what, and I don't want to steal your line from the story, so I'm not going to say it, but it is what we look for, I think, as travelers, are those moments of real connection and, you know, some serendipity, some fun, just driving around, kind of seeing what you see. Well, I would love to close with, I think, probably the most important question, and that is, what was the best thing you ate or your favorite thing? And maybe I know the answer to this, but...
Oh my goodness, I made a list.
Okay, I love this.
You would ask that. I ate a lemon eclair with like fresh lemon on top.
Oh
I ate... you're going to notice a theme. This is all cake. I ate an apple cake with cream cheese icing that had edible flowers on it. So it was very pretty, but the flowers were made by the woman who had baked it. So then we had a whole conversation about her garden and like hydroponics and things like that. And I had a cinnamon roll with demerara sugar on it. And I know that doesn't sound like exotic or anything, but it was so good.
Wow.
Yeah, everything was just delicious.
Cinnamon roll.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, and I like that. And then a couple of things that were fun to try that were, not that they were so different, but that they had significance. There was a kind of a donut thing, a little rounder, that was stuffed with jam. And at first glance, you're like, oh, it's a donut. Everybody loves a donut. But the woman who was selling them to me was explaining that during Soviet times, that was a popular treat. But yeah, I ate a lot of good dessert. The other stuff was good. There's a lot of like open face sandwiches.
Yeah.
Breads with a little bit of cheese or maybe fish. That was really cool. The other thing that was really good was in the village of Kolkia, which is like in kind of the old, very Russian area on the great eastern border of the country. It's onion country. But so this couple was made like onion rolls, which again doesn't like sound like, okay, I'd have an onion bagel anywhere.
Yeah.
But it was like they'd woken up super early to make them. They were so fresh, really like soft, and there was just so much good caramelized onion inside. God. And then you're eating it with the people who baked it. That was really cool. And I got to see the onion field where they had grown the onions to make the pastry. Like that adds something to it,
It sure does. You're like, that was just once 20 feet from where I'm munching on this really delicious thing.
So that was good. The hardest part though is you really have to pace yourself, because it's not like they serve small portions. Like no one got that memo. Hano and I kept joking. We're like, we should tell them to make like tasting size things. That's our tip. Make tasting size things so people will, eat more, buy more.
Yeah. And go to more places so you can try all the things.
Yeah. It's just really lovely. Delicious, lovely, beautiful place. Good food, good people, and just a really, really cool, different way to see the country.
Well, it's a fantastic story. Don't listen to it while you're hungry. That's my only recommendation, because it will drive you mad, all the wonderful descriptions. But thank you so much, Billie. Thanks for sharing your time and your adventure with us.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much. Let me know when you're going to Estonia. I'll go back with you.
Okay, that was our show. I'll include a link to the full episode below, and please don't forget to hit like and subscribe on your way out.